mauled the baby, the two dogs.
Is that standard for Mississippi? If there's a dog attack, they just put them down?
Pit bulls, absolutely.
It's up to the local.
Self-
You got Scott.
Fun at the legislature today. Several of the bills are going to go in for debate, final debate. Teacher pay will get approved. It will be a loud debate in the House side. This is the Senate's pay package that we talked about yesterday. $2,500. There's some caveats for a merit on the back end, like $100 if you increase your grade school level by A. That's going to be a sore subject because that's the governor. That's a kiss on the cheek for the governor. We kind of knocked that out yesterday, but if we wanted to do it and add to it, because there's going to be debate on that today. It's still the funnest issue out there.
What was the email they sent us last night? That vote? Didn't they say something? That
Yeah, they approved, the conference committee report agreed to what we reported at 6. 2,500, 1,500
Now
this year,
check with
1,000
the full-
next, full story, local tie-in. That could come up for debate on the Senate side. What does it amount to? Not a whole lot. But it basically says that they can, it gives a person a right to refuse
Service on the
so-
basis of-
yeah, based on religious right. It also has the "In God We Trust" tie-in with it that the governor had done early in the session, and the governor says he'll sign it. But nationally, those types of measures have been accused of being discriminatory. So that's happening today. Should come up. I don't know when, but it's on the Senate side. Bond projects. We can follow the money, as we reported yesterday. Just a handful of the local projects that are getting money from the state bond appropriation of $230 million. Follow the money. Why does Brandon need $500,000 for its Highway 80 project? Why does the zoo need $500? Yes, sir. Well, that's still being talked about. That's still the way it came out. If you make under $30,000 and you haven't gotten a raise in 4 years, you'll get $1,000. That's how I left it yesterday afternoon.
Okay.
And again, the conference committee, the way it works is 3 guys from the Senate, 3 guys from the House come in, they work out a deal. But the Senate and House have to approve it. So again, I expect the loudest debate to be on the Democrats and Senate side, and the House is always a free-for-all.
Why not 5:30 today? There is a meeting in Holmes County. The superintendent wants to merge 3 high schools into one. I know an angry parent called in about it, and parents didn't know about it. The woman who called in said that all the other stations know about it. I don't know if it's something we want to try and get on for this evening. I also saw, I didn't get a chance to read it yet fully, but the governor put out a letter urging, I guess, legislators to pass House Bill 765. That's the one on the special needs for kids in school districts.
The voucher program.
Yes. So I looked up a little bit on that.
The voucher.
He had run for. He ran against Benny Thompson for the second congressional. He was sentenced to 5 years in prison yesterday. His crime was registering a convicted felon to vote. Knowing the woman told him that she was a convicted felon. He registered her at her house and turned the forms in. He got 5 years.
That's more than killers get.
I told her, I said, it's amazing.
We got video of this guy, right? Let's make sure we have it.
Is this suspended?
Age for cutoff age for how old you have to be when you start first grade. They passed a law to move the date up to August the 1st, and they're trying to undo it and move it back to September the 1st because I guess parents didn't have enough time to know and get prepared for this, and so they're trying to undo something that they've already did. It was a part of another bill that they passed, and it kind of got lost in the shuffle, and so they're trying to go back and fix that before the school year starts back up. Also, on the dog attack, I was thinking to follow that we could do how responsible are the parents going to be held, or the family? Will they be held responsible for this 3-year-old being left in the backyard unattended with these pit bulls who are known to be dangerous dogs?
We don't know if the child was left unattended in the backyard. That's where they found the kid. The dogs could have dragged him there. Sally's on GM. Sean Kelly is on healthcare signups.
Who is that?
He's offering a live bow shot and a generic tracked bow shot. No custom as lives. Even with the website issues, healthcare signups have reportedly surpassed 7 million. President Obama expected to make an announcement late this afternoon. Sean Kelly offered a live bow shot for interested stations.
This is 16 WAPT News Live at 5.
One dead, more injured after a riot in the Hinds County Jail. What leaders are doing to curb the violence on the inside. Plus, how much did GM know about its deadly problem, and when did the company know it? And almost a dozen shotguns stolen in on Jackson streets. Now a break in the case. A warm, dry day, perfect for the weed whackers. Our camera caught this spring cleaning at Jackson City Hall. Chief Meteorologist David Hartman is here now with weather first.
Got to 80, first time since early December. We had consecutive days where we hit 80, and it's going to be a nice evening. There'll be a southerly breeze, a few scattered clouds. Temperatures only slowly falling into the 60s later on. But I see our next round of heavy rain and thunderstorms. Find out when they get here coming up.
New at 5, an emergency declared at the Hinds County Detention Center.
Yeah, this is all tied to a riot last night that started with a gang fight in the Raymond jail. 16 WAPT's Tammy Eswick is live with what county leaders just decided. Tammy.
Yeah, guys, first, we've got some new news into our newsroom. The Hinds County coroner has confirmed that 21-year-old Marquise Bennett is the inmate that died from the riot last night. Now, this was the scene yesterday after deputies say a gang fight broke out at the jail. This afternoon, the Hinds County Board of Supervisors held an emergency meeting at the jail. Now, they met with the sheriff and jail officials. They briefed them on the situation. Now, supervisors voted to reopen one of the pods. You may remember Pod C was involved in that big riot last year, but also they voted on getting new cameras for the jail and new radios for the facility, bypassing the need for a bidding process. There's also talk of a new jail being built.
Inmates are able to do certain things that you would not like them to be able to do in a facility to get in and out sometimes, and we've got to correct those. And so we're putting temporary measures in place to address as many of those as we can. But overall, there needs to be a new facility.
Our SWAT team methodically, went through and made certain that it was turned back over to Hinds County.
So at some point, the inmates had control of the jail?
Oh, absolutely. Not so much the jail as it was that part.
The Hinds County Sheriff says right now there are a limited number of inmates still at the Raymond facility, but they are moving a lot of those inmates.
Well, Tammy, what locations are those that you mentioned?
Well, one of the locations that the Hinds County Sheriff says they're moving inmates to, right here across the street to the downtown facility. Now, we also talked to Chief Horton. He says that he is moving inmates with JPD to Madison. Live in downtown Jackson, Tammy Eswick, 16 WAPT News.
All right, Tammy, thank you. This is still a developing story. Here's what we know right now. Officers confirm a 21-year-old inmate died last night during a riot. 7 other inmates were taken to the hospital. 3 are still there tonight. Today, Hinds County has declared an emergency situation at the detention center. That emergency status will allow the jail to reopen Pod C, which had been closed since a major jail riot destroyed it last year. Jackson police say they have a break in a stolen shotguns heist, Megan.
Well, Stephanie, police have tracked down 2 of the 11 guns stolen from a man's storage unit in Jackson. And today they announced they've also arrested 7 people in the case. Police released surveillance video of the burglary last week. They say tips helped them arrest 5 teenagers and 2 adults. Authorities in Holmes County are looking into whether parents should face criminal charges for the pit bull attack that killed their son. 3-year-old Christopher Malone died Monday after he was mauled to death by the family's dogs. The boy's mother found him behind their home. The family told us the dogs had been around the little boy his entire life.
Total shock. Something like this never happened before. The dogs, they used to be friendly. They run away from people when they approach them. It's just ironic for something like this to happen. The kids wasn't scared of them, too, because the dog, they know the dogs and the dog know them. But you know, them pit, they'll turn in one kind of way, so.
Animal control officers took custody of both of those dogs. The district attorney will decide whether the toddler's parents should face charges. And breaking news from the state capitol at this hour. We've just learned the Mississippi Senate has passed the Religious Freedom Bill. It now goes to Governor Bryant's desk for his signature. And that's not the only big action. A pay raise for public school teachers is on the way. 16 WAPT Scott Simmons here to break that down for us.
Yeah, it's now on the way to the governor's desk. $1,500 for year one for teachers, another $1,000 for year two. There's also a merit pay provision in this measure. They wanted more on the House side, but that is the deal that finally cleared both the House and Senate. The first race starts July 1st. Now, the governor he got a small portion of what he wanted, you could say, pay raises based on performance. That's in year 3. He told us he'll try to get more later.
Under the conditions that we have now, I think everyone should celebrate what the House and Senate will bring to my desk. Certainly, we're going to continue to explore merit pay. I think that's important, and hopefully in the future we'll be able to use it to incentivize really good teachers that are making a difference in the classroom.
So the way it looks now in the 2016 school year, a merit pay plan kicks in for school districts that score an A. The district gets $100 for each child. In the B districts, they get $75 for each student. And then the money is supposed to be handed out to school teachers and employees. The biggest hang-up on the pay raise for teachers was the recurring revenues debate, a very heated one at the state capitol.
Yeah, but at this point, the state is collecting more money.
Yeah, and that's been the argument on the recurring revenues. They say they're only going to spend what they collect. So this year they got $150 million more than they expected. But next year they're only projecting $97 million more. So they're trying to say they're working with what money they think they're going to have.
They just don't know what will be there. Thank you, Scott. Okay, we are following a big developing story tonight. A local official under investigation, Stephanie.
Yeah, Megan, the state auditor's office confirmed this week it's investigating Terry's mayor, Roderick Nicholson, but the auditor's office would not say why. We reached out to the mayor and his attorney, Dale Danks, but so far neither has responded. The state auditor traditionally covers finances and city resources. We'll continue to follow this developing story. New at 5, a warning today from the head of Amtrak. The president of the train company says Mississippi lines could be in jeopardy. 16 WAPT's Bert Case got an exclusive one-on-one interview today.
Mississippi is one of the luckier states in this country to have 2 Amtrak trains. The city of New Orleans twice a day goes through Jackson. It also stops in Hazelhurst, Brookhaven, and Macomb. Joseph Boardman, the president of Amtrak, has come to Mississippi to explain that some of that service could be lost unless it gets more support from the people.
Mississippi, Jackson, to understand that the trains they have are at risk today. And they're at risk because there's not the understanding in Washington of that need for balance across the modes, whether it's highways and aviation and rail. We need one transportation trust fund in this nation that really understands the necessity to rebuild this infrastructure.
So Mr. Boardman's message is, you better use the Amtrak service you now have if you don't want to lose it. For Case 16 WAPT News, downtown Jackson.
The Amtrak president did spend time with Governor Bryant today to discuss his concerns about the rail line in the future. He says he's looking for more government cash to support the infrastructure. Turning now to Commitment 2014, just 1 week until Jackson's special election. Jackson residents will vote to replace late Mayor Chokwe Lumumba. 13 candidates are squaring off to take the seat. This week, 16 WAPT and the Clarion Ledger are teaming up for the last debate of the special election. We're working with Mississippi College School of Law to host the debate Friday at 7 p.m. It will air on Channel 16.2 and on WAPT.com. Bond set for 2 men in connection to a murder at a park, Megan.
Yes, Stephanie, this was a deadly fight that happened in Yazoo City Saturday night. A judge denied bond for Michael Marshall last night. He's accused of killing DeMarcus Jones by hitting him in the head with a shovel. The judge also granted a $150,000 bond for Jeremy Jones. He is the brother of the victim in this case. Investigators believe he shot Marshall in the chest during that fight.
As well as working with the farmers and making sure that they have what they need to service our communities.
The candidate who ran against Congressman Benny Thompson was sentenced today for voter fraud. Prosecutors say Kobe Williams registered a convicted felon to vote. A judge sentenced him to 5 years, but suspended that sentence as long as he completes 5 years of supervised probation. Williams ran for Canton Alderman's seat in 2013. The district attorney says Williams' case led to 7 other voter fraud convictions. And bond denied today for a man accused of shooting another man in a fight over fishing. Authorities say Craig Puckett shot Thomas Presley 6 times after they got into an argument about a fishing pond adjacent to Puckett's property. Prosecutors say this isn't the first time Puckett has faced assault charges.
Mr. Puckett has been charged but not convicted with 2 counts of simple assault. Those affidavits were filed in January of this year by neighbors. In each of those affidavits, it is alleged that Mr. Puckett threatened individuals, that there was firearms that were produced.
Presley is out of the hospital. Puckett is due back in court next week. A bill on texting while driving cleared yet another hurdle, Stephanie.
Yeah, House Bill 484 passed through the Senate today, Megan. The bill would restrict texting for those under the age of 18. Now, the current law bans texting for teen drivers with a learner's permit. The bill now heads to the governor's desk. Well, the Obama administration and Democrats are celebrating a milestone today. More than 7 million people have signed up for health care coverage. 16 WAPT's Sean Kelly is live in Washington, where the fight over health care is far from over. Good evening, Sean.
Good evening, and the next big controversy with all of this is how much will the monthly premiums go up for the millions of Americans who signed up for this over the last 6 months. That is something that Republicans plan on using against Democrats heading into the midterm elections. The first chapter of President Obama's signature health care law closes with the administration surpassing expectations.
Despite several lost weeks out of the gate because of problems with the website, 7.1 million Americans have now signed up for private insurance plans through these marketplaces.
The final surge of people signing up caused the government website to shut down temporarily. Republicans questioned how many people actually paid after they signed up.
What we do know is that all across the country, our constituents are having an unpleasant interaction with Obamacare. Whether they can sign up for a policy or not, what they're discovering is, of course, higher premiums, higher deductibles. Many of them are losing their jobs, and so it is really a catastrophe.
And that was 16 WAPT's Sean Kelly reporting. President Obama said the 7.1 million who signed up is in addition to millions of young people who are now able to stay on their parents' plan. Leaders at the Enville National Forest in Smith County are taking steps to reduce wildfires. They burned a portion of the forest from 10 to noon today. Now, this comes after wildfires scorched almost 700 acres of the forest last week. Firefighters say they believe last week's fires were intentionally set. All right, David's here now with our next chance to wash away the pollen.
Yeah, well, I don't usually have it bother me, but today it really is. We do have some showers lifting northward across Missouri and southern Illinois, so no threat of any significant rain, but if we switch over to maps, Thursday night, a cold front will be moving into the area, and it looks like the northwest and northern parts of the state have a chance of some significant severe weather. Further south across most of our area, strong and drenching thunderstorms will be possible, so I'll have details on that coming up.
A new report on the missing Malaysia airliner raising questions about the pilot and co-pilot. Plus, a dramatic high seas rescue for a sailor who thought he was done for. You're watching 16 WAPT Live at 5.
The one to watch. This is 16 WAPT News at 6.
A gang fight turns into a deadly jail riot. Now, emergency changes are on the way at the Hinds County lockup. And we're on the money trail to find out how officials are using the state budget.
There is nice spring weather in my forecast, but an early heads up. It looks like a front will bring a round of storms, which could be severe, to the area Thursday night, maybe lingering into early Friday. This could be an overnight storm system, and right now it looks like the worst of it could affect the northwest and northern parts of the state. I have the details coming up.
First at 6, the Hinds County Jail taking action after a deadly riot.
16 WAPT's Tammy Uswick is live with the changes on the way at the jail. Tammy.
That's right, guys. We just left an emergency meeting with the Hinds County Board of Supervisors where they declared an emergency situation at the Raymond Jail. This is what it looked like when the FBI came to help control this situation last night. Today, the coroner confirmed someone killed 21-year-old Marquise Bennett during this jail riot. At least 7 others had serious injuries. Now, one jail pod has significant damage, and supervisors are scrambling to find a quick fix. Meanwhile, state agents are investigating where those inmates got weapons used in the fight.
Most of them were makeshift knives. That was made out of material out of the roof, which was used for cutting and stabbing.
The center consists of 3 separate pods, and right now 2 of those 3 pods are down. So we've got to move rather quickly to address housing of inmates at those facilities.
Yeah, and this evening, supervisors voted to forego the bidding process. They are buying new cameras and new radios for deputies. Also, they have plans to reopen Pod C, that troubled pod from last year. Megan and Stephanie.
Well, Tammy, do we know how many inmates were involved in that riot?
Well, we talked to the sheriff about that. He says that MBI is still investigating that, so they don't have the number. But we do know from JPD that when the SWAT team went in, they had to handcuff about 200 inmates in just Pod A.
To sort out, Tammy Eswick live for us tonight. Thank you. This is still a developing story. Here's a breakdown of what we know right now. Officers confirm a 21-year-old inmate died last night during a riot. 7 other inmates were taken to the hospital. 3 are still there tonight.
Now today, Hinds County declared an emergency situation at the detention center. That emergency status will allow the jail to reopen Pod C, which had been closed since a major jail riot destroyed it last year. Jackson police say they've tracked down 2 of the 11 missing shotguns stolen from a man's storage unit. And today they announced they've also arrested 7 people in connection with the burglary. Police released surveillance video of the burglary last week. Citizens' tips helped them arrest 5 teenagers and 2 adults. Bond denied today for a man accused of shooting another man while fishing. 31-year-old Craig Puckett appeared before a Rankin County judge. Deputies say he shot Thomas Presley 6 times after they got into a dispute over a fishing pond adjacent to Puckett's property. Prosecutors say this is not Puckett's first time he's being accused of this crime.
Mr. Puckett has been charged but not convicted with 2 counts of simple assault. Those affidavits were filed in January of this year by neighbors. In each of those affidavits, it is alleged that Mr. Puckett threatened individuals, that there was firearms that were produced.
Now, Presley is out of the hospital tonight. Puckett is due back in court next week.
A pay raise for public school teachers is on the way. The teacher pay raise bill is now on its way to the governor's desk. The measure would call for $2,500 over the next 2 years. There's also a merit pay provision. The first raise starts July 1st. A bill on texting while driving cleared another hurdle. House Bill 484 passed in the Senate today. This bill would restrict texting for those under the age of 18. The current law bans texting for teen drivers with a learner's permit. That bill also now heads to the governor's desk. With the state budget now closed, we're now following the money. The state is borrowing $230 million for various spending projects.
As 16 WAPT's Scott Simmons reports, a big chunk of that money will be spent in the metro.
Brandon is getting $500,000.
And what we want to do is begin to turn that into a focal point as you come into downtown Brandon.
Brandon's mayor says the state money is going to be spent to help add lanes and street lights to this portion of Highway 80.
And it'll be an overall improvement to traffic flow going up and down Lewis Wilson, into downtown, and out Highway 80 east.
What's the total price tag you think of that work?
Probably in the neighborhood of $1.3 million.
The mayor says the long-range plans involve streetlights and a walking path connection from downtown to Shiloh Park.
The city of Madison is getting a whopping $1 million from the state. It's to help defray the costs on what's called the I-55 connector, part of the ongoing project behind me to connect 51 with Highland Colony Parkway.
UMC is getting $30 million for its med school expansion. The Civil Rights and History Museum is getting $14 million for its work already underway. The Natural Science Museum is getting $500,000 for what is listed as renovations and upgrades. When I asked what sort of work, no answer from the museum's foundation except an email response from Dee Gardner saying, quote, "We look forward to announcing the details after further review and finalization." The Jackson Zoo is getting $500,000 in state money. Beth Poff says it will help pay for rope climbing sections for kids and expanding the chimpanzee exhibit.
Not only are you doing something for the visitor to see, but you got to make sure it's safe and
strong enough from a Chimpanzee Avenue, so just the glass itself in that viewing area is going to be pretty expensive.
Next step is planning and putting out bids to do the work. Scott Simmons, 16 WAPT News.
A candidate who ran against Congressman Benny Thompson is found guilty of voter fraud. Prosecutors say Kobe Williams registered a convicted felon to vote. His 5-year sentence is suspended with 5 years of supervised probation. Williams ran for a Canton alderman seat last year. The district attorney says this case led to 7 convictions of voter fraud. Now to Commitment 2014, a group of pastors is backing one of Jackson's mayoral candidates.
Because of who he is, what he is doing now, what he will do in the future.
About a dozen pastors from different denominations made that announcement today, endorsing candidate Tony Yarber. They say the 2-term council member will move the city in the right direction. They support his infrastructure and economic plans for the city.
And Monday, Congressman Benny Thompson threw his political muscle behind Melvin Priester Jr. Last year, Thompson endorsed late Mayor Shogwe Lumumba before he won the mayor's seat. Thompson isn't the only major name to endorse a candidate in this special election. Last week, Marley Evers Williams endorsed State Senator John Horn. And the special election is 1 week from today, Tuesday, April 8th. Remember our upcoming mayoral debate. We're working with the Clarion Ledger and Mississippi College School of Law to host the debate this Friday at 7. It will air on Channel 16.2.
A warning today from the head of Amtrak. The president of the train company says Mississippi lines could be in jeopardy. The state has 2 Amtrak trains that run from New Orleans through Jackson, Hazelhurst, Brookhaven, and Macomb. Amtrak's president Joseph Boardman says some of that service could be lost unless it gets more support from travelers.
Mississippi, Jackson, to understand that the trains they have are at risk today. And they're at risk because there's not the understanding in Washington of that need for balance across the modes, whether it's highways and aviation and rail. We need one transportation trust fund in this nation that really understands the necessity to rebuild this infrastructure.
The Amtrak president did spend time with Governor Bryant today to discuss his concerns about the rail line in the future. He says he's looking for more government cash to support the infrastructure. Well, it's been a major headache in downtown Jackson. Capitol Street is at a crawl right now, all but shut down for a major renovation.
But in tonight's case files, crews say they finally have the money to finish it. 16 WAPT's Bird Case went to find out when we might get back on the road.
We go back in time and see Capitol Street as it looked in this film made for the Chamber of Commerce in 1937. Rare to see color film from that era. Then we have this picture made into a painting by artist Mark Millett of Capitol Street looking west from Capitol and Lamar, which takes us back to the 1950s. Capitol Street will again look similar to the way it did back then, and downtown merchants hope the changes will bring people back to downtown. Jackson Interim Public Works Director Willie Bell says the work is going well.
There are things that was under that concrete under the street, that was some bad soil that had to be removed.
The reconstruction has been slow and got delayed for lack of money due to unforeseen soil problems, but that's now been solved. The project began in July of 2013 and got delayed about 4.5 weeks. The progress has hurt businesses like the Elite Cafe, owned by Chuck Odom and his wife Tula.
At least anywhere between 50 and 75%, depending on whether it's noon or whether it's evening traffic. So it has been significant.
John Coletti, who is a criminal lawyer with offices on Capitol Street, says the work has hurt his business as well.
It makes it extremely difficult for a lot of my clients to come down here.
Starting April the 5th, a Saturday, traffic will be moved from the northbound side of Capitol Street over here to the south side, eastbound, until the project is complete in March of 2015. Bert Case, 16 WAPT News, downtown.
Officials at Bienville National Forest in Smith County are taking steps to reduce wildfires. They burned a portion of the forest from 10 to noon today. This comes after wildfires scorched almost 700 acres of the forest last week. Fire officials say they believe last week's fires were intentionally set.
Jackson leaders honored some special volunteers today. Acting Mayor Charles Tillman honored the city's 58 AmeriCorps members as part of the Mayor's Day of Recognition of National Service. The volunteers tutor and mentor young children in the area. The service agency has more than 5 million volunteers. They also help improve the lives of local seniors. Sets and serves for charity, the one-of-a-kind tennis event in the Metro.
And tamed tiger. What sidelined the #1 golfer in the world?
Well, no April Fool's jokes weather-wise today. It feels good outside. Nice evening. Temperatures comfortable, slowly slipping into the 60s. We do have some rain chances, and we could see another one of those lines of thunderstorms crossing the region. Find out when that will take place coming up. You're watching 16 WAPT News.